Hey, we're live. We're here with Penny Lane. Hey, Penny Lane, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We're changing it up a little bit on the slightly informed opinions of Dave, the WeedCast. This week, we don't have a co-host, and for some reason, StreamYard's dumbed it down. I can't play videos anymore, so I'm going to have to do all this stuff that I normally do manually. So here we go. Before we dive in today's topics, I wanted to take a moment to ask for your support. If you're enjoying what you hear, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Mo High Tight, where you can find this live stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and my podcast, Social Equity in Missouri Cannabis. You can also join our growing community by searching for and joining the Slightly Informed Opinions of Dave the WeedCast Facebook group. Your subscriptions and engagement help us grow and reach more people. I got a crazy poll on that group about changing the name because I've had issues with people in the recent past. Nobody can remember what the name of my podcast is. It's a long, complicated name. I'm thinking about changing it up. So far, the WeedCast is the top vote. So
I like it.
I like it too. Okay, so beyond today's show, I'm always looking for diverse voices to feature on the podcast. If you're an industry expert, a home grower involved with hemp products or anything cannabis related, especially here in Missouri, I want to hear from you. Your experience and insights are what make this show of value to our community. Additionally, I'm actively asking for micro business licensees who've had their license revoked by the state to contact me. I believe that these revocations are a leading cause of why the microbusiness program is delayed and why the rule changes are happening, and is often a symptom of licensees being taken advantage of by others. For whatever reason, if your license was revoked, I want to tell your story. Please reach out to me. Your story is crucial for understanding the challenges within the program and advocating for a more equitable future. Speaking of valuable insights, I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest for this week, the one and only Penny Lane. Penny, thanks so much for joining us. Before we dive into our discussion, I was hoping you'd take a minute to tell our listeners where they can find your work, and perhaps, if you're so inclined, give a shout out to the Mo High Tight channel.
What's up, Mo High Tight channel? Thank you for having me. I am Penny Lane. If you are interested in seeing my content and what I'm doing, you can find me on Instagram at og.pennylane. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Penny Lane. And you can also find me at everscore.com.
I had your information scrolling there for a second. There we go. Penny Lane.
Hey, look. That's awesome.
Yeah. I should have. Oh, we got a comment already. Let's see. Oh, Jen from Just Jen and also the Green Angels said, "Hi, Dave." Hey, Jen. Thanks for joining in. And if Lisa, you're out there, if Lisa's out there, my number one fan that usually always joins my live streams, a big shout out to Lisa. Thanks so much for always joining in and usually participating. I love it when people jump in the comments and ask questions and participate. That always makes it more fun.
I've sent this link from California, New York, and everywhere in between. So hopefully we have some pretty cool people jump in with us.
I hope so too. Right on. Okay. Oh, let's see. I got a whole thing here of questions I did just for Penny Lane. Let's see here. Let's do this first. With so many events happening in the cannabis world, what specific upcoming events are you most looking forward to, either for speaking or networking or for whatever reason?
I got a couple. So, I have events stacked to the end of the year. I do a lot of things, go a lot of places. So, my next upcoming event is going to be the Missouri Growers Cup. It's August 23rd, and it is at Doobie's. We have Dizzy Wright is going to take the stage and perform for us. We have Ungayo Bellum is going to be our host, as always. He is the host with the most. And, we have a ton of companies and growers that have entered that are going to win some trophies. We're really excited about it. I also have the All Access Cannabis Awards Music Festival. That's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. I host
Is that this one? Nope, that's the wrong one.
Nope. It's that one right there on September 28th. You're going to find me in Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, hosting the stage with Immaculate Fly Music Records at the Cannabis Music Awards Festival. That is held on Fremont Street in Las Vegas at the Fremont Country Club. Super excited. It's one of my favorite stages. And again, our headliner for that show is Dizzy Wright. So Dizzy's coming hard this year.
Dizzy.
Excited to be working with him. And then after that, I have Hall of Flowers in New York. That is in October. I'm very excited about that one as well. October 8th and 9th. I'm going out there with Canopy HR. I'm really excited to be a part of that. I've never done a Hall of Flowers outside of California, so it's super exciting. So yeah, we've got some big things happening.
I wanted to mention to the people that there's a possibility that I might be at this event also. So if I got any fans out there and they might be interested in seeing the Slightly Informed Opinions of Dave do a live stream out there, you might keep on top of my channel and keep on my Facebook and my YouTube, and I'll keep you informed of what's going on with me. Oh, we got some more comments. Wow, this is great.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Craig Graham says, "Hey Dave," and "Hey Penny."
Hi, Craig.
Hey Craig. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Okay, so let's get this thing started.
Let's go.
Yeah. I normally do, I start this thing off the way I always do. My standard question here is for Slightly Informed Opinions of Dave, the WeedCast, is what was your first experience with cannabis and what are you comfortable sharing about it?
So, my first experience with cannabis honestly comes from a really, really pure place. I have epilepsy and that needed to be treated. For 35 years of my life, I was born with epilepsy, and my diagnosis was epilepsy. As medical science has advanced, though, we now have a better further diagnosis, I guess, into kinds of epilepsy, forms of epilepsy. So I previously worked for Sony Records for 7 years as a copyright A&R attorney, and I traveled with my artists. I came off of a Guinness World Record tour with 30 Seconds to Mars, and my body had enough. Went to an epileptic coma. Coming out of that coma, I went to Germany to see a geneticist because none of the medications were working. And I went through 6 weeks of testing. And
how old were you at this time?
35.
35. Wow.
And that was a decade ago. So, I did a lot of testing, basically poked and prodded in the whole nine. Had a geneticist tell me that I was an X-Man, that I am recessive in every way, who'd have known. It explains a lot. It really does. And so, she asked me, had I considered plant medicine because I am drug resistant. So the form of epilepsy that I have is called non-refractory or drug resistant epilepsy. So upon that information, I'm from California. That's where I lived. I reached out to some homies and they were like, you need to go up to the Emerald Triangle. I know some people that can help you. And I was on a wing and a prayer at this point, 50 to 100 seizures a day. No quality of life. So grabbed the cat, threw him in the car, and up to NorCal we went. And I had the absolute pleasure, and at the time did not know who any of these people were, but had the pleasure of meeting Rick Simpson, had the pleasure of meeting Jack Hare,
Oh, really? Wow.
Had the pleasure of meeting Frenchie Cannoli, and these legends.
Wow.
Essentially taught me what I needed to know about plant medicine. And that's essentially really my first great experience with cannabis, was looking for healing. I never intended to work in cannabis. It very much came organically. It just was a fit, I went from working in the music industry to searching for answers. And, I have a deep well of connections and a huge network of people. And it just kind of worked. I came into the cannabis space when there were no women in the cannabis space. And I wasn't taking no for an answer. I wasn't going away because my journey was really personal. I wanted to be well. And because of this amazing plant, I'm able to sit here and have this conversation with you today and do the work that I do out here.
Let's back it up a little bit. We went from your first cannabis usage all the way through. You were diagnosed with drug resistant epilepsy as an adult, right? At 35, is that when that
Yeah,
happened?
so I was born with epilepsy.
Okay, all
So
right,
I've battled it my whole life. Had my first
okay.
surgery when I was 9.
And you've had gone through a lot of different medications and treatments, and
For sure.
what other kind of stuff do you go through for that?
I have an
Kind of treatment wise.
RNS implant in my head. So I have a device in my brain that reads electrical current that also helps a great deal with staving off a seizure.
Oh, interesting.
So there's 2 different kinds of devices you can have, an RNS and a VNS. A VNS, not only do you have the implant in your head, but you also have an implant in your chest and an implant in your wrist. And upon feeling aura for a seizure, you can put your arm across your chest. It will activate the device.
Oh, wow.
I
Interesting.
did not qualify for that. I qualified for RNS. And so an RNS is an automatic device. It's implanted, so it's like back here in my head. And it reads the electrical current without me having to alert to it, because my form of epilepsy is pretty severe, and I don't always have time to tell this machine to work, basically.
Right.
So I'm an android.
So, a cyborg. You're a cyborg. You're part android, part robot, and part human. That's even cooler.
So yeah, I mean, I've gone through a lot with epilepsy, but at the end of the day, I don't let my disability disable me. I never have. I've always been a fighter. My whole entire existence, I've had, to beat the adversity of what this disease is. And, when I was a child, this disease was not studied. So this was not something they had a wealth of knowledge on. There wasn't, it wasn't until my adult years that we even had an answer as to why I was having these seizures. They didn't realize what the electrical current misfire in my brain was, how it worked, what the triggers are. And so I also I'm not photosensitive. So there's a couple different kinds of epilepsy. So I don't have photosensitivity. Flashing lights don't affect me. It's sounds. I have decibel triggers.
Okay. That was actually going to be one of my questions coming up. How do you find that going to events and stuff like that can be triggering for your condition because of the noise levels that you can encounter at some of these events? And how do you deal with? So how do you manage that?
I always
tell people to shut up a lot.
No, I always have earbuds. I also know how to remove myself from a situation that might be a little too tense for me. I'm very fortunate because I'm given a lot of grace, and I'm not asked a lot of for a lot of explanation. If I tell my team, hey, I can't be in here right now, they kind of speak for me on a lot of levels, and I'm very grateful that
who is your team, by the way?
Okay, so my team consists of CW Permenter, Dub.
Yeah, that's my boy right there. What's up, C-Dub?
So Dub is amazing. He is my husband, but he is also my right hand. This guy knows what I need before I know what I need. He's amazing. We have
you guys are such a cute couple. It's so adorable.
Thank you. Victor Fugate is the personal assistant with the most. He's amazing. I'm very lucky to have him. I have a secondary assistant. His name is Anthony. He is also rad. And then we have Kaya Mofaya, who is the photographer, videographer extraordinaire. She makes me look good. So yeah, I'm very blessed to have an amazing team of people around me that, man, I'm telling you, I'm nobody without these folks. They really make sure that I am looking my best, sounding my best, feeling my best. And so, I credit a lot to them, especially Dub. Look, this guy.
Yeah, for sure. He's your biggest fan too, right?
Die. I'm telling you, he's driven me all the way to Las Vegas. So, we have a great time together, but he is super supportive. And like I said, Dub knows what I need before I need it. He is willing to jump in and help any of the companies I'm working with or not working with. If he sees someone that needs help or needs a hand, Dub is the first guy in there to be like, I got that. And I think a lot of people in the industry super appreciate that. And I know I do. And people tell me all the time, your husband is so amazing. And he is so much more than just my husband, though. Dub is my best friend. He is, you know, he is my morning, he is my afternoon, he is my night, and I'm so blessed to have him.
I can say from personal experience from working with Penny Lane, we had a chance to work together at this recent event at Doobie's on the 12th. And I merely had to mention the fact that I needed something to you or C-Dub or what, Anthony or Victor. Did I get the names right?
Yeah, you
Okay.
got it right.
And I just merely had to mention it and they were on it. You know, I could use another chair, or I don't have, you know, whatever it was, or the background, or, you know, it didn't matter. Those guys, everybody was on it. So
Yeah.
if you're ever thinking about, you're a vendor and you're thinking about attending an event where Penny Lane is working there, you're going to get the VIP treatment. I guarantee it.
Well, you know, the goal in the cannabis industry, a lot of it is community. You know, I think sometimes we forget why we're there. You know, we get hung up in the moment. We get hung up in the financials. We get hung up in, you know, the accolades of it. But, you know, we're there as a community. I see you, KMO Fire.
Oh, look who it is. Look who's all up in our messages.
She's the best photographer in the whole world. Look, this girl knows what shade of lipstick I wear and keeps it in her bag.
Oh, wow.
I am not kidding. She comes ready to go with the powder puff and the wet wipes, and like she's on fire, and I love her. But you know, community is everything at these events. You know, we're all there for the same reason. We're trying to put on a good show for the public. We're trying to make sure that the community is entertained and enjoying themselves, being educated, smoking the good herb, and meeting all these companies. It's, you know, brand recognition is a really big thing in the cannabis space, and it's, you know, how we inform our consumer that, like, maybe you love this brand, but try this brand out. And those events is where the consumer has the opportunity to absolutely, you know, meet these people, touch the product, absolutely consume it. And so, you know, I'm really appreciative of my team. I have people tell me all the time, and I take it as an extreme compliment. They're like, man, I don't know where you got your team, but they're freaking phenomenal. And they are. They treat me super good. I try to make sure I'm treating them equally as good. You know, at the end of the day, we are family. We all hang out. We all sit down to dinner. I mean, Victor took me grocery shopping today. I mean, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, we're definitely a family. But when it comes to, you know, business and working in the shows, they are all business, and you know, they move independently. I don't need to be holding hands or giving instructions. They absolutely know what they're doing. So I'm super blessed.
Yeah, sure. That was, yeah, for sure. When I said something to those guys, they didn't seem like they needed to go check in with you. They were just like, okay, I'll get on it. You know what I mean? So everybody was really good. Let's back this up a little bit again to because I want to make a comparison to when you were a child and you weren't using cannabis. Describe what that was like for you as a child growing up with that condition before cannabis entered your life.
So, you know, because epilepsy, especially at that point in time, was so understudied, essentially I was a guinea pig. You know, my mother's a physician. She's a pediatrician. And so she fought really hard for me. She's an avid cannabis user.
Go mom. Go mom.
Yeah, go mom.
Go mom.
And
shout out to mom.
You know, I honestly didn't know. You know, as a kid, you know, when you're a child, you kind of do what you're told to do. You follow the path you're being led in, and you know.
Or you trust the adults that they're making the best decisions for you, and they are. You know, they're making the best decisions they can make, usually, hopefully. And usually they're all about everything for their kids. You know, if you got kids, hopefully that's a good parent. You know what I mean?
For sure. You know, cannabis became med legal in 1996. I was the first juvenile patient. I was given tincture and oils, probably not the cleanest or the best for that time in cannabis. You know, it was very new. Everything was popping off.
So wait. I just want to clarify. Your first cannabis usage was a tincture? Is that what you just said?
That is correct.
I have been waiting for somebody to say that. You're the first guest I've had. I always ask people about their first cannabis usage, and it's always smoking.
No, it was drops under my tongue.
It's been until this day that I've been waiting for somebody to come on the show and say that their first usage was something other than smoking and for a medicinal reason. Ta-da! Red letter day. I've been waiting for this moment. Yeah, because I knew there was somebody out there.
For
Awesome.
sure, you know.
So I wanted to highlight that. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, you
And
know.
and how old were you at that time? Can you
I
share
would have
that?
been 15.
Wow. Okay. Right on.
You know, but I didn't realize, and that's why I say my first experience with cannabis was definitely as an adult, a grown ass adult, but because I didn't know that's what I was being medicated with. You know
Oh.
what I mean? I
Mhm.
was given all kinds of medicine, so it was just part of the regimen, right? You know, here's your meds. Open your mouth, droppity drop, drop. I was still taking, anti-epileptic drugs or AEDs, and quite a few of them. And I've literally ran the gamut from everything from Vimpat, which is not a super strong AED, all the way to phenobarbital, and
Ooh,
everything in
wow.
between. Yeah.
My God. So
And so
which is and for people that don't know, that's a very strong opiate. Like
it
that's one of the
is.
strongest you can get.
It is.
So did you notice a difference when you took the drops? Did it seem to be helpful? Did you notice any
It
change right away, or did it take time? How did
it
that
took
how did that
time.
happen? Did
It
it?
took time.
Oh,
It
really?
took time to, just like any other daily regimen medication, we are activating the endocannabinoid system. Of course, at that time, we didn't know that's what we were doing. But you have to build it up. I do remember, pretty vividly, like feeling very lethargic, but
Okay.
just attributing it to the medicines, because it was more than one med, so it's like really hard to pinpoint, like, was it this or was it this, and honestly, as a juvenile, I did not ask a lot of questions. My goal was to get through the school day without having a seizure.
Yeah, you got a lot of really important stuff to deal with as a young child and as a teenager in school. Oh my God, what a hard time for all of us.
Sure, but I was told I would never be a mother. I have 3 biological children. I've adopted 2 other children. I have 2 grandchildren. I was told I would never graduate high school. I graduated third in my class with honors out of 750
Which
students. I was told I would never go to college. I graduated magna
which
cum laude with my PhD
wow,
in
good
entertainment
for
law
you.
from
Wow.
Berkeley. So, all
As a
these things
lawyer?
as a lawyer. Yep.
What?
Yep.
Penny Lane the lawyer? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So I'm not your
I'm
typical
not
lawyer,
worthy. You guys watch your
but you
shit when
are.
you're around Penny
You
Lane.
are. Here's the thing, David. It really was people saying you'll never be able to do this. You can't do this, and I was like, aha, I will, and I did. And so
So
I knew in law school that I was not going to be a litigator, that I was not going to be in the courtroom, that just wasn't, that wasn't my bag. And I had a
right.
really dope professor that was like, hey, what's your minor? My minor was music. I'm classically trained in music. And so I was like, music's my minor. And she was like, I think I know what you need to do. And she introduced me to the side of law that was entertainment law, specializing in music. And so I wrote copyright for Billboard Top 20 Artists for 7 years.
Cool. Can you come on as a co-host and maybe get 50 Cent to come on? That'd be great.
Look, I love Curtis Jackson. I'm going to say this because I know Kaya's watching. It's 50 Cent, not 25 cent. There's a funny story behind that, and I know she's dying laughing right now. He loves mangoes.
I do too. I have 2 right here. I love mangoes. That's my
That's a little
favorite thing.
insight to Curtis Jackson is he loves mangoes. He's a hell of a nice guy. I've worked with him many times. Super dope guy. Yeah. So, I mean, I think people think that a lot of these artists are untouchable, but I'm going to tell you, they're just like me and you. I have conversations with a lot of these people on a regular basis, and I know everyone's like, oh my God. But for me, it's another day at the office, right?
Sure, right. Yeah. I think who would be even more relevant is Tech 9.
So Tech 9, based out of Kansas City.
Yeah.
And what a nice guy as well. Super nice guy. I've only met him a couple of times. Macmo Green in Kansas City gave me that opportunity. So shout out Macmo Green to meet Tech 9 at
That's
the
awesome.
Sprint Center. Like I said, I am so very blessed, and I'm so grateful and humbled every single day that I have these opportunities, that I can take people on this ride with me. I definitely try to open doors for as many people as I can, because at one point in time, somebody was opening doors for me.
Well, I do now ask former guests to be a co-host with me on a future episode. So I will ask you to come back at some point. And if you wanted to bring somebody with you as a guest, that I wouldn't object to that. I would I mean, I was just kind of joking around about the musical guests, but I would really like, because I know you have some connections with the 40 Tons people. I'd love to have them on a podcast and rep what they do.
I love Anthony and L'Oreal. That's the owners. They're a married couple. They're phenomenal. If y'all watching don't know the story of 40 Tons or about Corvain Cooper, I implore you deeply you can tap it through my Instagram page. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can definitely Google it 100%. Today, as a matter of fact, this morning, I sat on Justice Row with 40 Tons and Benzinga in Chicago earlier this summer and conducted CEO interviews. Today, the interview I did with Dan Hare, who I love so very much. I literally talked to him for an hour this morning. So, Dan, if you all don't know who Dan is Jack Hare's son. You've all smoked Jack Hare, I'm sure, at some juncture in your life. This is the legacy that came from Legacy. And he's out here doing the same great work that his father did and conquering Europe right now. So you can find that interview. You can find it on my Instagram. You can find it on my LinkedIn. You can also find it on YouTube, 40 Tons. Type in 40 Tons, Dan Hare. There's also a story. I think I have links in my LinkedIn right now. So I'll check it out. It's a great interview. I was honored that Dan was just so happy and willing to sit down with me. It's funny. Sometimes I have to take a step back because this is everyday life for me. And sometimes I forget that this isn't everybody else's every day.
Sure.
Like I got up this morning and Dan called me and was like, hey, we had a great 1 hour conversation about life and what we're doing and where we're going and when we would see each other next. And then I had a conversation with somebody a little bit later on, and they were like, this is you just got up and talked to Dan Hare this morning.
Right.
I forget that that's not normal for everybody.
You may not realize this, but I'm kind of a big deal too. Like, for example, I got up this morning and was speaking with a celebrity this morning too. Maybe you've heard of this attractive, beautiful female, Penny Lane. How about?
I'm not that great. Thank you. I'm honestly not that great. Although Kaya, I'm looking at her. I'm looking at her comments. She's all up in our business, and I love it. So thanks, Kai. I just talked to Kaya for a couple hours before we hopped on.
Did you?
Kaya's amazing. Kaya is based in California, in the Sacramento area. She just did the California State Fair.
Fun.
Fat Nugs magazine, and they did Faces of Cannabis.
Very cool.
She's an amazing photographer. You've most definitely seen her work many times. I'm positive of it. She's been shooting me for a few years now. And I just love her to death. Kaya was a fan that, really just put her heart and soul into it. And, every time I go on tour, she's absolutely like right there for me, ready to go. So, there's blessings on blessings out here.
Have you seen this? Let's see. Did it come up? I clicked it. It's going to take it a minute. There we go.
I did see this. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I sent that picture to one of my MJ Biz contacts, and I was like, hey, I know this guy. I wondered why you weren't being tagged. And so my contact was like, do you know his name? I said, yes, of course. And so I made sure I gave them your information so they could tag you in that. I thought it was fun. Nice. I was like, oh, I know that guy.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Dub and I got married at MJ BizCon.
Not this last year, though.
We got married in 2022 at MJ BizCon.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
You know, when I was there this year, where I met the amazing Penny Lane and her amazing husband, my wife and I renewed our vows. So we had a fun ceremony.
I love that.
We did the little white wedding chapel, the drive-through wedding chapel, you know.
Oh, I love that. We got married at Chapel of the Flowers in the Glass Garden.
Oh, nice. Did you love it? Was it amazing? I loved my wedding.
It was amazing. You know, it was, you know, the reason we chose to get married at MJ BizCon is because I was like, where can we get married where we're not going to, you know, it's not going to be a huge expenditure for us or all of my homies. Like, where can I go where everyone's going to be? Like, how do I get everybody in one spot? This is the cannabis industry, you know, we're all kind of just dotted across the country. And it dawned on me, I was like, MJ BizCon. So I reached out to Kelly Riddle. She now owns, she has just started her new company called the Canna Joint. It's super awesome. I did some work with her in New York for Revelry, and I will always work with Kelly. She's the bomb. At the time, she was doing media and all kinds of things for MJ Biz. I reached out to her and I was like, hey, so I'm thinking, you know, I just got engaged and I'm thinking I'm going to get married at MJ Biz. And she was like, oh my God, yes. So MJ Biz, you know, really, they've always been really great to me. And they just, you know, we popped off like an amazing wedding. You know, we just rolled out the red carpet for us. And it was just an amazing experience. You know, I have zero regrets getting married in Vegas at MJ.
Oh, for sure. Me either. It was a great experience. I also would like to say that the BizCon people were very generous to the micro business people. We got a discounted admission, so I very much appreciated that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So I go to MJ BizCon every year as press, as a member of the media. And I am very blessed and very thankful. So we're going to say thank you, Tess Woods. Tess is the PR director for MJ BizCon.
Call me Tess.
She's amazing. I love her. I spoke to her in email today. She is one of my first beeline people as soon as we get to the convention is let me go give Tess a hug and get a quick picture with her. She's a rock star. So, you know, I am very, very fortunate. You know, every year I am welcomed back with open arms as a member of the media for MJ Biz. And let me tell you, we collect some media. We collect a lot of media. Oh, for
sure. There's so many people and businesses, vendors, and so forth to talk to. An unlimited supply.
Oh,
if you had a couple of weeks, you couldn't go through and talk to everybody for just a few minutes, even.
No, I timed it one year, and I timed it 1 year by the vendors because I get the floor plan in advance. Obviously, if you're going to MJ Biz and you didn't download the app, you need to do that because it'll help you out monthly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I actually timed it, and if I talked to each company on the floor, I could give them 2.5 minutes. Oh. And that was, you know, over the course of the 3 days that we're on the convention center floor.
Right.
So yeah, it's virtually impossible to be able to like hit every vendor. You got to move quick at BizCon. You really do.
Yeah.
You got to move quick. But you know, I love
do your research in advance for sure. Yeah. Know who you want to talk to.
MJ Biz. I was just talking to Kaya about this. You know, I have all these events stacked. You know that obviously she's gonna come do media with me. And I told her, I said, you know, after Hall of Flowers, I have 2 shows after Hall of Flowers, literally stacked at Doobies. And I told her, I said, after that, we have to just dig in and make sure that we are prepared and ready for BizCon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes some preparation if you're going as more than an attendee. And even attendees, I highly encourage to, you know what your mission is before you get to Vegas.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, you'll maximize your time. And you can even use that app to connect with different people beforehand and vendors and so forth that you want to set up meetings with and stuff like that. The app for that is amazing. And what we're talking about for people that don't know, the MJ BizCon is like the biggest cannabis conference in the freaking world, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
So, and it's flipping huge. It's in the Las Vegas Convention Center. Last time we were there,
Yep.
the entire bottom floor was just like, well, at least I think it was the entire bottom floor. It was just all cannabis stuff. Like one side they had, what was it, grower stuff, and the other side they have kind of vendor stuff. And
so
so
you have your ancillary, which would be like, for instance, Love Buds, Puffco, Futurola.
yeah, true, yeah.
And everyone in between. Okay, 40 tons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, everyone in between. I those are just a few, obviously, because it's enormous. And then the other side of the convention center this year, and every year it's set up a little bit different. And then the other side is like manufacturing, processing,
right?
And then, you know, like I know on the other, like I call it the other side. That's terrible, and I don't mean anything negative about it. On the other side of the floor, you know, we had the cone factory. They had a huge installation, and I love those people. You got pre-roller.
They had
shout out to my homies, pre-roller. If y'all aren't familiar with pre-roller, they make these amazing machines that can literally pre-roll for manufacturing. I mean, it's lickety split, and they're the most perfect freaking joints.
A cylindrical roller, or what kind of a machine is it?
This thing's like a robot. It's super automated. I'll have to connect you afterwards. I'll have to connect you to the people who own and run pre-rollers, some friends of mine. And it's amazing. Like, and they're all over the country now. They're based out of Oklahoma. But their machine is insane. I literally could stand there and watch it all day. And there's tons of these machines. But pre-roller they just do something a little bit different, you know, on how this machine operates. And it is so fast and everything's so accurate, pre-measured, right down to how it crowns the joint off. It's insane.
Nice.
It's super cool. You would just, it's fascinating. I'll send you the information.
What was it like when you went? I guess there was probably a time when you realized that cannabis was the medicine of choice for epilepsy, and you're kind of transitioning away from pharmaceutical drugs. What was that process like?
So, you know, coming back to the States from Germany after, you know, getting this information that, you know, from genetic testing that, like, none of these medications are ever going to work, right? That was a blow, you know, and there was a really dark period for me where I was like, this is it, you know.
This is as good as my life is going to get.
This is how it all ends for me. Where I felt like, you know,
yeah,
college was a mistake and I wasted a lot of time, and, you know, working on the road for 7 years was, you know, even though an amazing experience, you know, not good for me. And like, I definitely like knocked some years off my life, you know. So there was a really dark period of time where, like, when you're coming off these meds, you can't, you know, I was at the time 18 different medications 4 times a day. You can't just stop taking them.
Right.
It will definitely make you ill. It will definitely affect you in every system, whether it's your nervous, your centralized nervous system, or your circulatory system, or emotionally.
Digestive system, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, digestive system, emotionally, mentally. It throws off your circadian rhythm. I had insomnia for the longest time. And when I say insomnia, you know, you've seen the movie Fight Club? And he goes to the doctor and he's like begging them to give him something to sleep. I was there. I was like, I can't freaking sleep. Like, I can't go to sleep because I was so scared that if I fell asleep, I would have a nocturnal seizure. And that is where the risk of SUDEP, which is sudden unexplained death due to epilepsy. That's when that happens. And that's usually, honestly, that's how a lot of epileptics die. Is SUDEP. And I was really scared of that, you know, like, I don't want to die this way, you know. And so I was like subconsciously keeping my damn self awake, you know, to the point where I had, you know, this terrible bout of insomnia. But, you know, my transition, it kind of took place in the way that, you know, I had started, you know, medicating with cannabis. So it was easier to, like, one by one, you know, every day I lose a drug. And you just dealt with the side effects, you counteracted it with the canna, and just push through. It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody.
And how are you consuming cannabis during this time?
So I was eating a lot of RSO.
Okay.
I was eating a bunch of RSO.
Rick Simpson oil.
Rick Simpson oil. Uncle Rick, he's amazing. Love this man. Love this man. You know, I was taught how to properly microdose RSO. I started smoking herb.
At what age was this, Penny? Miss Penny Lane?
I was like mid-30s.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was kind of that guy who was like, went to an Ivy League school, had an Ivy League job, and I am better than that. No, boo-boo, I am not better than that.
Just say no.
Humbled. Yeah, just say no. I was humbled very quickly. Especially, you know, like, I'm a California girl. I'm from the beach. You know, I love to go surfing. I just didn't want that stigma attached to me, and I worked really hard to avoid it.
Now look at you.
God, I know, right? Like, I mean, like the wall of Puffco behind me alone with all the bong. I'm just saying, you know, like, so.
Call me Puffco.
Right? Call us all, Roger. We love Jolly Roger. You know, so it was all in my head, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Some of the coolest people I know are some of the most intelligent business people I know are the people that I was judging as just a stoner, right? And you know, like I said, I was humbled real fast, like real fast, you know, and I'm so glad that I was. You know, it's the stigma breaking thing, and I had to break my own stigma, you know? And so what an experience though. And like you said, like, look at me now. Holy shit.
Right.
You know, like the weediest person.
Cannabis queen.
Canna queen. They don't call me that for no reason out here, you know what I'm saying?
Can you point to any specific cannabinoids or terpenes you found most helpful in your epilepsy? And I feel like I've just asked the question you've been waiting for people to ask you.
Absolutely. So, you know, I think it's different for every patient, no matter what you're treating, you know.
Sure, probably, yeah.
So what might work for me, just as the disclaimer, I am not a doctor. What works for me may not work for you.
100%. Yeah, let's do a disclaimer. Do not take any advice from me or my guests at any time ever, right? Do your own research. We can relate our life experiences, but we're not providing any kind of advice for you on what you should do. Okay.
Correct. So, you know, I find that humulene, osmine, neurolidol, bisamol, those kind of like not your typical terpenes.
Yeah.
If I went to Dispo, right, and I'm honestly, I love all the brands, I love all the companies, so there's not like one I'm running off to buy. I definitely shop like anybody else.
Sure.
I'm looking at that terpene profile, and if I see osmine, humulene, neurolidol, bisamol, I see these uncommons, even if it's 2 or 3 down in the list, that is absolutely the herb or the dabs I'm gonna buy. You know, I think, you know, very typically in what we see a lot is myrcene, limonene.
That's what I was going to guess.
Linalool, caryophyllene, beta caryophyllene, and those are all amazing terpenes. They're usually, you know, at the forefront. It's what tests the highest in our cannabis strains. However, every number counts. And so when I see those maybe less recognized terpenes, that is absolutely what I am jumping to. You know, a lot of the terpenes, look, you got me started. I love the terpene conversation. Okay. A lot of the terpenes that we are getting from cannabis, you can get from
other
the fruits,
yeah,
and vegetables
sure.
that you're consuming. So that's why when you see, for instance, when you see a description, right, and it says hints of pine and mango. If you look up mangoes and the terpene profile of mangoes, I guarantee, I can promise, this is 100% concrete information, that those terpenes that you're seeing in your cannabis that have that hint of mango flavor are absolutely the same terpenes that you're going to find eating a mango. And people have this misconception that, like, okay, so if I eat a mango, am I going to get litty in the city? No, you're not. It's a fruit. It has no psychoactive property. Does it contain terpenes? Yes, 90% of the food you consume contains terpenes. It's a plant-based thing.
Sure, yeah.
So that being said, though, when we're purchasing our cannabis, you know, a lot of people, and I know this is kind of a stigma too, is like everyone's like, I need that high THC.
Yeah.
And I kind of giggle about that because I'm like, you know, I'm not going to beat a dead horse because I've said it a million times to a million people, but like, are you looking at the terpene profile? And if I have herb and it's 25%, but it's only 3% terpene, right? Total terpene. And then I have an 18% THC content and a 9% terpene. I'm buying the 18.9 over the 25.3.
I'd be happy with that purchase as well. Yeah.
You know, because everyone thinks that what contributes to the psychoactive effect, the euphoric effect, is purely just that number of the THC content. But it's definitely not. You need all these other things in here. And, you know, people also underestimate, you know, they're just looking for the highest THC, right? And I get it. Look, I totally get it. But, you know, they're not looking at the CBD or the CBN or the, you know, THCV. And these are all very contributing factors. I think as our industry grows and continues to grow, that education, I sure hope anyway, becomes more readily available to the consumer and the consumer embraces that information. I'm always happy to, you know, someone comes to me and they're like, teach me this. I'm always happy to sit down and have the conversation, give people resources to kind of discover that further. A lot of people just don't know. You know, Missouri's a fairly new state in cannabis. And so, you know, as far as education goes, honestly, out of the 22 states that I have licensed and branded my company in, Mary Jane by Penny Lane, Missouri is one of the most highly educated states as far as their bud tenders, the cultivators, the people who work in the farms, the ambassadors, and you know, brand reps. That education is really, really available versus, like, for instance, if I were to go to a state on the East Coast where, you know, that information isn't even on the package. You know, you get, this is, you know, their batch number, their metric number, and maybe, you know, the strain name and, you know, percentage of THC. So the education just isn't there yet, and you know, it will come. It will come.
Did you hear about? I guess we're going to get political for a minute because you kind of touched on a subject that came up in Missouri recently, where I can't remember, was it the DCR announced that they're going to start doing random testing of cannabis products in Missouri to make sure that what is on the label is accurately reflected for different dispensaries?
I think that should happen.
Absolutely.
I think that I mean, one test.
I agree.
The state of Missouri has extremely high standards in their testing, which is why the quality of our products in the state of Missouri are phenomenal. They you know, I'm from the West Coast, and people are like, yeah, it's not Cali bud. Well, okay, no, it's not, because it's not ocean grown. We don't have an ocean here. However, the standard is so much higher in the state of Missouri that the quality of the flower we have here, I take it all over the country with me. I know that I can count on it. It's dependable. It's always good quality. It's always, you know, clean.
What's Penny Lane putting in her What was the name of those blunts? The Blazy Susan. What's Penny Lane putting in her Blazy Susans?
So, you know, I love a lot of companies. You know, since Cannabis, they have some dope flower. If you've ever had a
They
chance to
do,
have
yep.
the blueberry muffin, it smells like a blueberry muffin. It tastes like a blueberry muffin. It's like breakfast in a joint. It's fan-freaking-tastic.
Yep, I got
also
some
am
of
a
that. It
huge
was
fan
amazing.
of the Rooted brand, which is a house brand of key cannabis through Elevate.
Okay.
Hermit's Delight.
Oh yeah.
Good Lord, you know, they did one. They just did a strain. I have the pleasure of being able to do what they call their King's Court, and it's basically we sample their new strains and what they're going to put out on the shelf next. They did one, and it's a phone number, and what it is, if you type the phone number in, it is the Hall & Oates hotline. It's freaking hilarious. Okay.
That's funny.
But that strain is great. They have another one, and look, this is gonna sound so out of pocket, but they have another one called Creamy Penis Breath, PENUS.
Nice.
But it honestly, the high that you get from it, the benefits that I feel from it, it's phenomenal. It tastes amazing. So, you know, I'm not really devoted to any one company because I want to smoke everybody's weed. You know, I really do.
These days, I've noticed that before I even smoke, you know, if I read the label and then get a good sniff of the product, I can get a pretty good idea of how that product is going to affect me before I even smoke it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that has a lot to do with reading about what terpenes are in it and learning by doing some sniff tests about what different terpenes smell like. And when you can smell these different terpenes, you can say, oh, that smells like some pinene. And when I smoke that, it usually makes me feel euphoric or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For sure. You know, I love doing what you just said. You know, they have these kits. They teach the ganjiers with these kits where like it's a smell test of just the terpene. So no canna, just the terpene. And you once you've trained your nose, it's like you can't untrain it. You know, like I know that's what, you know, limonene smells like. I know, you know, I know that's what pinene smells like. And that's so important to learn. I think, you know, every day we're learning out here in cannabis. You know, I learn every day. I learn something new every day. Sometimes I learn 15 things new every day. And that's the beautiful thing about this plant. It is constantly giving to us. And if we just open our hearts, our minds, our energy to it, it will literally just guide us through it. You know, I think mission and purpose, you know, mission and purpose.
I took the Ganjier class in combination with going to MJ BizCon, so I got a discounted rate on doing that. I just did the product specialist, which is like the first tier of the Ganjier course, and I learned so much. I thought I knew a lot about cannabis, but I learned new consumption methods. And when I got to this, was a really good way to do it because as part of the class, when you graduated at MJ BizCon, they did a tasting at Planet 13?
Planet 13.
Yeah, Planet 13. Yeah. Yeah, Planet 13. That place is freaking amazing. You'll never go in a dispensary that's like that. I got tattoos in there.
Yeah. It's the largest dispensary in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's phenomenal. You know, there's several Planet 13s across the country. So you got Vegas, there's one in Santa Ana, California. There's one in Chicago, Illinois. Well, it's just outside of Chicago. There's one in Florida. So, but the one in Vegas. I'm just saying, like, you know, used to when I go to Vegas, it was before I would even go check into the hotel. I'm talking like suitcase rolling behind me. As soon as I landed, we were going to Planet 13.
You got to go in this place. I'm telling you, even if you're not planning on buying anything, it's like you just go in there just to experience all the different stores and the vibe in there. It's amazing. It's really cool.
It is super cool. It's like a mini mall of weed.
Oh, I wanted to say too about vibes. When I went to Doobies on the 12th, that was my first experience ever in a consumption lounge. I'd never been in a consumption lounge before. Yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah. I was a total virgin before I went to your event, and I got to say, I was kind of expecting it to kind of be like a bar experience. And the inside, because you go in and there is a bar in there, it kind of gave that kind of a vibe, but not as far as the way people behaved. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
it's a totally different thing. There's no drama. People are just chilling, having a good time. And all the weirdos and freaks you could think of are showing up, like me,
Absolutely.
and we're all welcome. If you're there
Yes.
to enjoy the cannabis, you might encounter a freak like me.
I mean, let's talk about Doobies.
Yeah.
That's going to take us to Waxy Brown.
Yeah.
Doobies was and Tyler Smith is the owner. Doobies was a Tyler Smith, Daniel Jones, aka Waxy Brown. That was what was originally a road trip idea. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that building was originally a bar.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes, it is now. It is now the largest dab bar in the state of Missouri. I might be the largest dab bar in the country. I believe. I might be inaccurate, but I believe that's what Waxy told me.
Okay.
That was Waxy's dream. Was that consumption lounge? He just
Yeah, he
wanted
pulled it off.
He just wanted a place for everyone to be able to come and sesh and listen to some good music and community and vibe. And yeah, I love that place.
Oh, it was wonderful. I had a great
I
time.
mean, they could have. Waxy could have called me and said, "Hey, we opened a consumption lounge in a pole barn," and I'd still been there. Okay,
Sure, right.
But that place is amazing. Our goal is to as a team, as a community unit out there with Ty staff, with Dusty, Waxy's girlfriend, with Waxy's brothers, especially Mike.
Oh, are they active there too? I ran into them. I didn't know that they were active at Doobies.
So, I mean, here's the thing. They're behind the scenes.
Okay.
But very much involved.
Okay, cool.
We want to keep the legacy and dream alive. And
really cool family, by the way. His whole family. I got to meet his brothers and his mom and his stepfather. Super cool people.
Look, I held it together until Mike and Waxy's mom hugged me, and then that's when whoo, it's getting misty over here.
Sure, yeah.
I love that family. I knew Waxy for a long time before I ever met him face to face. He was a fan. He followed my career from California across the country in the Green Rush. The moment he saw that I was in the state of Missouri, hit my line and was like, "Come do my radio show." It was at the time where he had Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour.
Right. Nice.
It was such an honor to, be a guest, and I did his radio show many times. I credit a lot of my career in Missouri to Waxy. This is a state that doesn't have a lot of influencers. It's a state that, show me does mean something here. It's not just a catchphrase or a motto. And Waxy definitely put me on a pedestal and gave me a platform to be on, and a place where, people could see what I do and what I'm about and how I move. And I super appreciate that,
Well, I'm lucky I was able to just stand in his shadow for a few minutes. I never had the pleasure of meeting him in person, unfortunately, but I had heard so much stuff about him. He's definitely a legend. Before we even spoke on the phone, and I met him through LinkedIn. So
let's go LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. So and then just the time passed, and then I reached out to him to see if he wanted to be on the podcast, and he was super into it. I didn't even
was your podcast with Magnificent Messiah from Deer Isle Family Farms. I love you, Mosey. That was the last podcast that Waxy did.
Yep.
was your show with Mosey. So I know it meant a lot to him. You know, Waxy was a veteran. He had a great deal of support for the veterans. You know, always. He was just an amazing guy. I miss him every single day.
Oh,
it's just crazy.
Let's you mentioned veterans. Let's talk about how sad it is that there's 22 veterans a day committing suicide. Sometimes
Absolutely.
there's more veterans out there that are committing suicide than are dying in combat.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Um,
I know you're a veteran. So
sometimes it's hard.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Sometimes it's hard for veterans to process what they've been through. And if you ever feel like you're depressed and you're a veteran and you're suicidal and you think nobody cares, you're wrong. Call me, email me, reach out to me on the socials. Here's all my information here. You call my phone, 573-818-9985. Call me. Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. You know, I think, you know, so I have a lot of friends that work with the veterans. So, you know, Josh White, he's based out of Illinois. He has the MMP, which is the marijuana maintenance program. And
he was there. He was there on the 12th.
Yes. Look, I'm going to tell you, I reached out to every single person that, you know, I know supports me greatly. And I am so lucky. People came from all over the country and showed up on the 12th. And some of them had never met Waxy, didn't know him, but came to support. And that means the world to me. So thank you to everybody who came. Josh came. You know, he was one of the first people to message me after we got the news and was like, hey, just know that if you need anything, if you just need someone to talk to, you know, I got you. I'm here. So I'm very lucky. You know, what Josh does with the MMP is he works with veterans who have had to battle with opiate addiction and are, you know, they need a different answer, you know. And so that's what he does through cannabis medicine, and it's an amazing program.
It's a kind of I would call it a California sober kind of a program.
Yeah,
that's
California
what I would call
sober.
it.
Yeah,
California sobriety, which means that California sober means that you're not doing any mind altering substances except for the medicine that comes from cannabis.
Correct.
California sober. I love it.
Yeah.
If you can get off opioids, and I had Rasta Rhino on the show. You know, he works with him here just a couple weeks ago.
Rasta. We spent
just last week.
Together.
That was my guest. He was my guest last week.
I love him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
super cool guy. Spent a few days with him in Kansas City around St. Patrick's Day. We all stayed in the same house together.
That's where I saw you again the second time was at Irish Fest. Yeah.
At Irish Fest, yeah. I'm all over the place, David. Look, bro, you can't hardly hold me down. I got shit to do, you know?
Right.
I got to meet Rasta there. That's also where I met Josh.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Yep.
That's how friendships are made out here in the cannabis industry. One day you're invited to do an event. The next day you're in an Airbnb house with a bunch of folks from all over the country. And, you know, it doesn't end there. You know, everyone becomes friends. We all want to connect. We all want to reach out. And if we can help each other, we definitely do. The Canna Fam is an amazing group of people. And I think everybody's Canna Fam's a little different. My Canna Fam is freaking enormous. It spans, you know, the entirety of the United States and then 8 additional countries. So
nice.
I know, right? Look, I've been doing this for nearly 20 years now. This is year 19 for me. So I get around. I get around, but you know, I love this space. I love it for so many reasons. I love the people that I get to interact with. I love the people that I meet, the new people I meet. I love the brands, the companies. I love the drive. I love the mission. It all means something to me. And I think it's like that for a lot of people. And, you know, we can't define someone else's experience. But if I can help enhance someone else's experience or help open a door for somebody, then to have an experience, then, you know, that was a good day. You know?
For sure, yeah. I think being a part of the community is very rewarding. And sometimes it can be, like it's like being in a family. There can be drama. It can be very cool. But most of the time, hopefully, you can find a happy medium.
For sure.
And one place that I want to say that I found a really happy, a very welcoming cannabis environment online and on Facebook. I know that you don't participate in Facebook, Penny Lane.
No,
But
it's
Lisa
okay
Hamlin, she does the Canna Corner in there, and she keeps it drama free. People are, welcome to go in there and participate. If you're looking for a cannabis group, especially one that's Missouri oriented, I highly recommend it. The Canna Corner, it's such a cool place. I've had so much drama. I've gotten in other Facebook groups and people trashing me and slandering me, and it's sad. I'm like, come on.
That's kind of why I don't do Facebook. Honestly.
Well, Lisa keeps it real. She doesn't tolerate any of that. So
I honestly, I just don't have the energy for it.
I hear you.
Instagram is a great place to display my content creation, and a lot of that is for my fans, for the consumers looking to have a little bit of influencing. I hate to be called an influencer. Influencer, no. Influencing, yes. And so, but that's where Instagram, plays a huge role for me, is that, people want to see what I'm doing. They want to see where I'm going. They want to know what products are in my hands. And I am able to give people a peek into that through Instagram, very minimally considering the rules and restrictions in the meta. I absolutely don't want to be shadow banned or kicked out of the algorithm. And so, you really kind of have to tread lightly. And so I've learned how to dance around the algorithm. And then LinkedIn is where that's where my network is. I have a beautiful network of people, like I said, across the country and in the world. And that lives in LinkedIn. So, that is why that's the two social platforms that I choose. Now, Everscore is a retail commerce based per state content creator's dream, because Jeff Sampson, the founder and CEO, built it on the Fediverse, not the metaverse. So I am encouraged to smoke in my videos and my content. I am encouraged to show the products. I am encouraged to be 100% authentically me. And anybody who knows me and spends any amount of time with me knows that fuck is my favorite word. However, Instagram does not allow that. Okay,
really?
That's an easy way to get clippity clipped. But on Everscore, if I say fuck, I'm not gonna get shadow banned tomorrow. They're not gonna take my ability to monetize away from me. And as a creator, as an influencer, part of what we do on social media is to monetize. And if I piss off the meta somehow, and look, honestly, I think it's very subjective. I know somebody who literally, if they blink the wrong way, they're getting shadow banned. Whereas I can literally post full ass clips of me walking a huge convention, and I'm getting viral status on it. So I think it's very subjective. But you don't want to caca in the meta's Wheaties. Because they will definitely take away your ability to monetize, and then you got to fight. So many people have had their pages taken down. I can list them, everyone from the Beard Bros to the Cannabis Babes to, the dispensary down the street.
Almost everybody I know on Facebook already has another Facebook group ready. You know what I mean? In case the one they're in right now
because Facebook's on the meta as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of people, I think I try and keep it I just don't even do any cannabis content like videos or like this. I just don't do it on Facebook anymore. Everything's all go to YouTube. So shout out to YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're talking about being able to monetize and what content creators can do. The more subscribers I get, the more I can do and the more I can bring content to you. if you like what's happening here with Penny Lane, please subscribe, support me. Thank you.
You see it, click it.
Speaking of that, being a brand ambassador and social influencer, what were some of the early challenges you faced in representing cannabis in a still developing industry? Ooh, that was a real question I asked.
Was. Okay. I mean, one of those challenges was being female.
What? Yeah. Okay, cool. Right on. I have a question.
Being taken seriously.
That's my next question.
There's a misconception because I've been here in like a long time, and people think that like it was kind of just handed to me. I'm here to say, every door that shut, I absolutely had to kick the next one open. Nobody was turning the knob for me. So I fought really hard for my place in cannabis. I also think that's why I've had relevance for as long as I have, because the people who welcomed me in, of course, was the legacy gentlemen of this industry, who I'm still friends with a number of them to this day. They were like, okay, look, she's not going away. They're like, she's not going away. It turns out she's kind of smart, and like she's got a lot of connections, and that was my way in, and it gave me an opportunity to prove myself, to prove that I had some value and some integrity, and that I was a sponge, just dying to learn about whatever anybody was willing to teach me and show me, whether it was being a brand ambassador for a certain company, or the art of hashish, or the medicine of RSO, or look, I've done every job in weed, right down from trimming to standing on a stage and hosting events. I've done it all, and everything in between. And so like people say, well, I want to work in cannabis, and I said, well, what are you interested in? And they always say, well, what do you do? And I always tell them, the correct answer for that is it's not even an answer. The right question is, what do I not do?
Yeah.
It was a mission and purpose for me to, really, and not in a business way. This is just literally self goals here, was to educate myself as much as I could in every single way about the cannabis industry itself as a whole, but not just the industry, the plant. This plant saved my life.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience and from just observing people that are working in this industry, vendors and so forth, there's not a lot of people making money and getting rich at this. If you're doing this because you want to get rich, you're probably in it for the wrong reason. You got to love it. You got to love it.
I tell people all the time, if you decided that you wanted to come to the cannabis space to work, this is your career, and you did it because you thought you were going to get rich quick, there's the door.
Unlikely.
It's very unlikely. Here's the thing. As much as I'm booked, for events across the country, I give away an equal amount of work, if not more.
Yeah.
When I depart this earth, I'm leaving a legacy behind me. And I don't want that legacy to be she was one of the highest paid influencers in the history of cannabis. I want that legacy to be like, this girl was willing to go out of her way and help people just out of love. That's a very important thing to me. I do things for love on a daily basis, and not for any other reason than because that makes me feel so good inside, knowing that like someone came to me and was like, hey, Penny, I need a connection for this, or can you help me understand that, or I would love to be at this event. How do I make that happen? And I'm not out here going, okay, well, I will do a consultancy with you, and it's going to cost. No, I'm like, what event do you want to go to? Hold on, let's look this up. I know a guy. You know what I mean? You do it for love.
In that vein, did you hear about the new social equity program that I'm mentoring? I announced just this past week that I'm going to do the Missouri micro business mentorship application program. So anybody that's interested in getting in on round 3 in Missouri, you don't even have to be in Missouri. Missouri is not a state residency is not a requirement to get in the lottery. At least it's not right now. There's going to be some rule changes, and we don't know what they're going to be yet. And we don't even know when the next round is going to be. I'm guessing before the end of the year. But I'm starting a mentorship program so that if you're interested in getting in on that, I will be able to guide you through it. And you don't need to get in with some sleazy consulting company or give away percentages of your business before you even have your license. Don't do that. You can do the process yourself for free, and I'll help walk you through it.
Mentoring is super important.
For sure. Yeah.
I have people that come to me a lot. Here's an example, okay? There's a Canna nurse. Her name is Sammy Pyle. She's based in Springfield, out of Springfield. I love her to pieces. She came to me after a couple events we did together, and she came to my house. We sat down and we seshed, and she was like, I know what I have to offer is valuable. I don't know how to make it work for me. So she explained to me some of the work she was doing, and obviously she's working for free. And I told her, I said, look, know your worth, ask for it, and then add taxes. This was probably 6 months ago we had this conversation. I talk to her regularly, but this was about 6 months ago.
Okay.
She messaged me the other day, and she said, bitch, you're the best. Mm-hmm. I remember you telling me, know my worth, ask for it, and then add taxes. She said, I'm doing that, and I'm getting exactly what you said. I think mentoring is really important. Like I said before, Missouri is a new state, relatively new state in cannabis. And honestly, as far as like careers go for people in cannabis, it's so new that only a few of the boxes have even been checked as applicable.
That's true. Yeah.
Bud tender, cultivator, brand ambassador, or C-suite executive, period. Right? But we need the nurses. Jeez Louise, we need the nurses.
For sure.
We need social equity groups. For sure. We need consumption lounges. Oh my gosh, we need consumption lounges. We need influencers.
I'm just starting to realize that I'm bringing value to stuff that I do in the community too. Because
absolutely.
When I bring awareness to events and then I tell people I'm going to show up, sometimes a few people show up with me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm starting to see my worth in the community. I've been doing this for free for a long time, but it's
I self-funded.
It's been a money drain, but I think I'm getting to the point where I'm able to maybe start at least breaking even. That would be wonderful.
I self-funded for a really long time, and I would literally take whatever I made at an event to get to the next event.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I did this for years, and what the in between it was self-funded. Cannabis is a passion project. Like you said, there's not a whole lot of us getting rich out here. The people who I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, this is an opinion. The wealthy people in cannabis came into cannabis already wealthy. Yes,
and that's happening in the micro business program too.
It's too fresh in this state for anybody to have gotten rich yet. I mean, people forget, you see the number. Okay, so MJ Biz puts out the numbers per state, projection numbers, and then total numbers at the end of the year. Last year, Missouri did $7 billion+ in sales. That's just what money came in with consumer going into the stores, buying the product, and walking out the door, right? People forget about the overhead that it took in manufacturing, in processing, in cultivation, in cure, in employee, and just manpower, so yes, essentially they sold $7 billion+ in Canna, right? It probably took $10 billion to make it all happen.
Probably, yeah, right.
You know, so, but it will happen. You know, I think the biggest mistake, I actually said this somewhere earlier today in the call, the biggest mistake people make in cannabis is they give up. Anything worth having, you're going to have to work for. Period.
Sage advice.
You know, if I was here because I thought I was going to be a millionaire, I would never have been here this long. And don't get me wrong, my life is insane when it comes to my career. So yes, there's absolutely been mornings at 4 a.m. when I'm getting on an airplane to travel across the country where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm tired. I'm burnt out. Like, do I really even want to be doing this? The moment I step off that plane.
But somehow you do. You still have a drive to get up and keep going.
It's a passion project.
Yeah,
it's such a passion project.
Yeah.
You know, I genuinely love the community in a real way. In a way that affects me outside of cannabis. My closest friends I have met inside the cannabis space. You know, but the plant saved my life. So whatever I have to do to keep it pushing, keep it in people's hands, keep people edutained, because I'm an edutainer.
For sure, yeah. There's definitely an aspect of this to what I do on social media.
Absolutely,
it can't just be information. People have to be entertained, or they're not going to stay engaged.
Okay, this is the reality of it. Nobody wants to be taught. They don't want to know that they're being taught something, right? Because nobody wants a tutorial. We just want to get high, bro. You know, so like we don't want a tutorial. However, people ask me all the time, like, show me how that works, or how did you do that? Look, I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna make you feel something, and when you walk away, you're gonna be like, Penny taught me this. But you're not even gonna realize in the moment that I'm teaching it to you. You know what I'm saying? Edutainment. It goes far. You know, it's the same conversation. I had this same conversation with Sammy Pyle, the nurse I just told you about. And I told her, I said, nobody wants to be taught. You got to make these people feel something.
My biggest supporter and number one fan is giving us a lot of claps there.
Oh, your beautiful wife.
My beautiful wife. My biggest supporter and my best fan. Yeah, thank you so much for that, baby.
Love that. Love that.
I wanted to ask some questions. I normally try to wrap this up around an hour and a half, but I still have some questions that I want to ask you.
Hit it. Let's go.
As a successful female entrepreneur in the cannabis industry, what are some of the most significant challenges you face personally that might differ from those faced by your male counterparts? Ooh.
You know, I'm not your typical woman in cannabis. So I'm going to answer this in a way that's probably a little subjective. I see what other women endure. I don't necessarily endure those things. Because, look, I'm the world's greatest wingman. Period.
It's Penny Lane.
Serious, you know. So, you know, what I see with other women is one, you're a girl, you can't do this. Bullshit. Okay, period. Females tend to be paid less. Females tend to be given lower positions. You have to work a little harder to climb the ladder.
Oh, you know what? That just gave me a great idea. Do you know Luna Stauer, don't you?
Of course.
Let's get her on the podcast. Let's get her on the podcast, and you can be the co-host.
She's my ginger twin, baby.
Let's get her on the podcast. She said something. I think it was her. I went to the Empowering Women talk last year at MJ Unpacked, and I think it was her that said that even though there are some women that are getting up there in management, CEO positions, and so forth, when you're sitting at the table, you know, for every woman, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 men. So even though 100%. Women are sitting at the table and they have a voice, they usually are outvoted, and they don't have a much of, even though they get heard, You know what I mean? There's a difference between somebody hearing you and acting on what you're saying.
For
So
sure. That almost feeling of being disregarded or humored because you were allowed to speak.
Hmm.
For me, it's a little different. Everybody, and this, I don't mean in disrespect in any way when I say this. This is just personal experience. Every door that ever opened up for me in the cannabis space, almost still to this day, was opened up for me by a man.
Really? Oh, wow. Hey, all right. Good job, men
So,
in the cannabis
as
industry.
much as I support
That's
women in
awesome.
weed, and obviously I'm a woman in weed, so clearly, there's a lot of support there.
Yeah.
I credit my success not necessarily to the gender, but it's been all men. You know what I mean? So like these men believed in me enough to be like, come with us, we're gonna show you this shit. We would love to put you on this platform. Here's a stage to host. Your voice needs to be heard. We believe you're important. We love what you're doing. I've had a great deal of support, and it has all been, honestly, every door that's ever opened up for me, every stage I've ever stood on, every magazine I've ever been in, men.
And do you think that I'm not going to say that that's a higher percentage of men that are maybe more not interested, are more able to work with women in the cannabis industry than other industries? Do you think it's because it's kind of a fam and it's kind of a culture thing?
It is.
Maybe.
I think honestly, for a long, long time, there were no women in weed, and we can't blame the men of cannabis for this. It wasn't until a certain period of time where women were like, wait, I want to do this too. And then suddenly expected to be heard and suddenly expected to have a voice. And then all of a sudden there was this controversy that the men were keeping the women out. In all reality, men established the cannabis industry, period. They were the ones out on the farms. They were the ones hustling. They were the ones in the legacy market.
Yeah.
It was men. And I am very grateful for every man who was like, Penny fucking Lane, let's go. I also see both sides of the coin, I guess is the best way to say that. There are tons of amazing women in the cannabis space. Amazing women. And I bet you at least 75% of them will say exactly what I just said. Every door for them was opened by a man. That is not a gender role. It's just literally the way the industry is. It's just the way business has gone since 1996.
I wonder how Luna Stour would answer that question. We'll have to ask her when she comes on.
I would imagine that a great deal of the doors that opened for Luna, she, like myself, had to kick open.
Probably, and that's kind of her personality too.
And the person on the other side that held it open after she kicked it, I almost bet was man. It's not a gender role. It's just industry. It's like, okay, back in World War II, women never worked in a factory until all the men got sent to war. Suddenly, men got sent to war, and now all of a sudden, we're Rosie the Riveter, right?
Right, and mechanics and plumbers and all the other stuff that women needed to step up to take care of while men were off fighting the war.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a place for everyone in cannabis. If you're invested and you want to be part of this industry and part of this culture and part of this crazy society, there's a place for everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Do women have a harder time in the cannabis industry? 5 years ago, yeah. Hell yeah. Today, I think that's a wall that you're putting in front of you unnecessarily.
I've noticed that it seems like in the cannabis industry, a lot of vendors who have customer-facing employees like to have their pretty girls out there.
100%. I mean, you know why?
Well, because guys like to buy cannabis from pretty girls.
Of our consumers are men.
Okay, yeah. I love going in there when there's a girl, and especially if I go in there and she'll talk some some cannabis talk with me a lot about a little terpene talk while I'm in there.
I'm saying, let's go. Look, I love that, and I'm a woman.
I know, right? Right? Yeah.
Come over here with your cute little t-shirt on and tell me what you know, boo-boo. What is that bong you're smoking out of? Yes, I want to hit it too. You know, like, so I get that. Look, it's no different than if you know, you see commercials on TV for, you know, freaking lotion, right? I'm just pulling something out of the damn air. It's not a man rubbing the lotion on his legs.
On his hairy, scarred legs.
But I promise you that same lotion is on the shelf in the bathroom, and my husband lathers himself with it after he takes a shower. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I wouldn't doubt it. That C-Dub, he's a pretty handsome man. I wouldn't doubt it if he has like a whole routine, because it looks like he's put a lot of effort into it. Handsome,
honestly, though, you know,
people
ask him about his hair. Okay, and anybody who knows Dub, look, they know his hair. Okay, I'm just gonna say, pure jealousy on my end. All this man does is wash it.
Oh no!
He literally washes it, finger combs it. That's it.
And then he's done.
And he's done, and it's beautiful and gorgeous. And I look at him and I tell him, "Baby, your curls are popping." You know, and people are like, "Man, I bet he has like a whole regimen with his hair." And I'm like, "That's the one thing." Like, I get it. No,
I used to have hair.
Like, look, Dub's got some dope curls. He really does.
I'm jealous too.
Yeah, look, I'm jealous.
I got one final question, and then we can start thinking about wrapping this up.
Sure.
What advice would you give to other women aspiring to launch or grow their own business in the cannabis industry based on your experience overcoming these unique challenges, Penny Lane?
Don't give up. Don't
give
up.
Away, yeah.
You know, know your mission. You know, don't give up. Know your mission. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I reach out to people every day. Seriously. As much as my phone rings, I make other people's phones ring equal amount of I encourage anybody, male, female, polka dotted, 0 fucks to give, to, if this is really where you believe you need to be, and this is the space, don't come here for money. If your goal is to get rich, you're not here. You're not in the right space. This is not the space for you. You know, if you truly want to be in the cannabis space as a female, I honestly suggest finding a mentor. That's been really beneficial for me. I have a few mentors. David Tyerman, the brand godfather, he is one of my mentors. You know, John Racine, he's like the godfather of CBD, one of my mentors. You know, I think that, again, all men, I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's an anomaly. It's just how it works out. But, you know, for women especially, as many doors that shut in your face, kick the next one open. That's truly, you know, look, I'm a nice guy and a bad bitch all in 1 minute. So know your worth, stand your ground, don't give up. That's the best advice I can give anybody, is just know your worth, stand your ground, and don't give up, because it's hard. If it wasn't hard, there'd be a million Penny Lanes, right?
For sure, yeah.
Freaking hard. You know, Here's the thing. Either I'm crazy or I have an insane endurance for bullshit.
For sure.
Maybe it's a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, my heart and soul is in what I do. I bleed this. You know, I find joy in every bit of it, even the aggravating parts of it. It's like any other job. You know, there are days where I'm like, can you believe this shit? You know, it's like any other career.
Yep.
Know where you want to be in the space. I'm very blessed. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Okay. I just knew that I needed to be here. And honestly, the industry has guided me. The community has shown me what they want from me. I just knew I wanted to learn everything I could learn. So
I have one small tidbit that I'd like to just kind of throw out there, and this is kind of a for whatever you're doing in life. It's my philosophy on haters, right? So my philosophy is if you're doing something and nobody cares about what you're doing, you're probably not doing it hard enough yet. Once you get to the point where you got some people that love what you're doing, there's going to be some people that disagree with you, and there's going to be some haters out there. Don't let the haters discourage you. They're actually a gauge for success.
Yes.
And they're also, a lot of times, they're your biggest advocates because they're out there screaming your name in an emotional way, and people want to find out what this lunatic is raving about, right?
Absolutely.
Let them do their thing. The last part of this equation is if you're doing something and all you have is haters, it's probably you. You're probably a douchebag.
Yes. Yes. So here's the thing. I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I feel like this about it. Some people get bent on haters. Look, they're everywhere you go, no matter where you're at. I don't get bent on haters. Listen, boo-boo, if you don't have anyone to hate on by 6 p.m., please, bitch, come hate on me. Because all you are already doing is you're stoking a fire that's already blazing.
Yeah.
And I welcome the fuel.
For sure. I'm just saying, don't let it discourage you. You got to feed on that.
Yeah.
Like Penny was just saying, feed on that. It's a fuel.
Yes.
Man,
look,
let that spur you to try even harder.
If somebody isn't talking some kind of shit.
Right?
Like,
right?
Man, did nobody notice that? Like, nobody even got something nasty to say? Like,
sometimes it's me talking shit.
Look, I talk shit on myself all the time. I'm like, I ain't all that.
Nah, sometimes
I'm not
that's
that
the best.
great. I didn't do anything like spectacular, So I'm my own worst critic, though. Look, David, I am my own worst critic.
Did you? Yeah, and most of us are. Did you want to? I got your information scrolling across the bottom there, but did you want to shout it out one last time so people can get in touch with you?
I would love that. I would love for each and every viewer to reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at og.pennylane. You can find me on LinkedIn at Penny Lane. You can find me on everscore.com/Penny Lane.
I would like to say, as an endorsement for what Penny Lane just said, that Penny Lane and CW and I had like a passing kind of a friendship, a business relationship before a couple of weeks ago. And I heard that she was hosting this Waxy Brown thing, and I reached out to her. I'd never spoken to her before outside of just meeting her at events. She got back to me the same day. So if you got something you think that Penny Lane's interested in, reach out to her. She'll get back to you. I promise you. I will. Now, Penny Lane, look at we're besties up in here. Look at us, all up in the same live stream.
We're stuck like Chuck, right? Fucking part of the family now.
Right? Hey, we need to get together outside of events and outside of stuff like sometime and maybe do a double date. Me, you, and C-Dub and the wife.
Oh,
do something.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would love that. I'm sure Dub would love that too. So yeah, absolutely. We're gonna make that happen.
Yeah, let's do that. Because it's such a different thing when we see each other. It's like we're always working, and you're kind of in a different space then. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. I'm always working. Are you kidding me? I work in my sleep. I work. People ask me when I clock out. I don't clock out.
Yeah, right. You can't turn it off. I'm
on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because this is more than a job for me.
Right on. Yeah. Like we said, that's been kind of a theme throughout this. If you want to work in this industry, it's got to be a passion. If you're getting into it to do it for the money, you're going to be disappointed.
For sure.
My information is scrolling down there at the bottom. Mostly I'm interested. People, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build that up. And if you would join my Facebook group, The Slightly Informed Opinions of Dave, the WeedCast, that would also help me out. I'd appreciate it. Please help out my friend Penny Lane. And Penny Lane and I are tentatively going to come back if we can maybe get Luna Stour. We were tentatively obliging her to do a future podcast with us. But her or somebody like that, we'll get somebody on here. We'll do something together.
I
Penny.
got someone. I got a couple amazing women. Let's get Luna. Let's get Ishka Hillman, founder of Cannabis Babes. Let's get Kelly Riddle, the Canna Joint. Look, I got a network. I'm happy to share it. Let's go.
Do you want to have a girls' night? You want to have a girls' night?
Boo boo. Look, we can bring the most fabulous women in weed to your platform, and I'm sure they will entertain and delight.
Awesome. Well, Penny, I hope this has been a positive experience for you. I hope you feel like this is a safe space and that we got to know each other a little better.
Absolutely.
It was totally a casual interview. Normally I'm much more structured, but we had kind of a chemistry and we were just kind of bouncing all over the place with
vibing, baby. Vibing.
Yeah, so it was all good. And I liked it. And we definitely need to do it again in the near future.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Hit me up tomorrow. Text me or whatever.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Let's sit down and have a phone call. I think there's some things that I can help you with, and some opportunities I'd love to place in front of you.
All right. Would you do me one last favor and give C-Dub a big hug for me?
Look,
that guy gives the biggest like bear hugs.
Consider it done.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, take care and have a great evening. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you, Penny Lane.
Hey, it's my pleasure. We'll see you soon.